Drinking a Jarritos. Jarritos, yeah, I think it's pronounced correctly. They're loaded with sugar. I think like twice the amount of like a regular soda. Well, it says 35 grams, not too bad, but they're really, really good. It's good to have. These are not very good to drink, healthy, but every once in a while it's good. Very unique for the soda. Pretty unique. Anyway, I had made a video in a really long time. I don't know who has the time to watch this. There's a number of things I have to make videos on. Still, I have to make a video on my experience at clinicals, what I think of the individuals that were there, what I experienced there, what my plans are for the future, and a lot of the chaos, and also I just submitted my application today for a patient care technician class, which I thought it was 6 weeks, but apparently it's not. It's a 12-week, it's a 3-month course. I mean, it's a certificate too. It's not a license. I mean, a license sounds more powerful than like a certificate, but apparently that's the whole deal to it. So I submitted that application. Got to wait 3 to 5 days and to hear a response, and it is going to be at Cedar Valley College, and I've never been there before, but it's like pretty far. It's way south, like past Oak Cliff south, like really south. Not even, I think Oak Cliff's more like southwest, but I'm going to be very, very, very tight on budget, so I have to find a job. I have to find a PRN job, which is part-time work at a nursing home or at a rehabilitation center. I've worked at a nursing home. I'm kind of right now leaning toward rehabilitation center because I spent so many years. It's not that I dislike it, but I was thinking that maybe I can get a couple nights over at a rehabilitation center, maybe during the day, and then maybe get a couple nights over at the nursing home. And I think that'd be great. Obviously during the day, I wouldn't work a night shift because I haven't worked a night shift in a really long time, but I don't think I really want to do that right now at the moment. It's at least while I'm kind of getting situated with school. And I just got a lot of stuff that's kind of going on. It's kind of hard to put into words who has the time to watch these videos, like I said. Very powerful soda. Very unhealthy. Very unhealthy, but very powerful. I enjoy it. Yeah. Little Mexican soda, right? So, it's very wild because, I have to, I want to talk about these other videos. Like I got to make a video on my, the smoking that I've been doing, and here I am trying to get into the medical field. Like, what nurse do you know? So my dad used to smoke as a nurse. So there's nurses out there back that used to do it as well too, but what nurse do you know does shit like that? But I'll have to make a full video on that. Hopefully I'll be able to stop one day, permanently and comfortably willing and go back to sort of lifting weights and wouldn't say just lifting weights, but getting a good exercise and continuing my new career in the medical field and see what life has stored for me in that world, and doing good work for God. And I have to take it day by day, and it's hard to even describe, just because I'm just going along with this shit doesn't mean I still don't think I'm HIV positive. I still have to be on those. I understand the rationalization. I remember looking up HIV positive, and I did the full research on it when I was very young, when I was a kid. And I remember looking up exactly what the cells did and how people die and exactly what happens to the human body thoroughly. And I knew none of the other kids did. And I was very young. I want to say I was like in fourth grade when I read about this. I remember like, hearing about it, and almost like, what is this disease that everyone called or whatever. But it's not going to stop me. There's a lot of fields out there in the medical world, and that allows me to participate and be a part of this world for the remaining of my life, my natural life, to be in the medical field and not be in this music entertainment crap field. And I hope that one day I'm allowed to continue that instead of being whatever, all this stuff that's going on, because there's so many things that are going on, that nobody really understands, because everyone's living their own life. Life is running out for them too, like it is out for me. You never know what can happen to me, just like I don't know what can happen to you. And I remember reading this verse about Jesus, and I want to say it was something in the Bible was, what one man has ever worried so much that it's been able to add an hour to his life. Like, do you know anybody that can worry enough to add an hour to their life? To not worry, and that's like saying not worry, trust in the Lord, right? Because you can't control everything. I don't feel, there's all this psychology shit, and the laser beams and the electronic devices, and at 42 years old, and like all the abuse that happens with what my mother's twin is doing, and my mother out of the picture for all these years, and the entertainment world, just always shit or what it is. It's you have to keep faith, and it's hard to describe, because I'm the medical field. If I ever get protected, blessed, and graced enough, if I'm allowed to get, one day be a licensed nurse, at least a licensed nurse, then I'll experience that journey the way I want to. I don't need anybody telling me, what the fuck, you don't need to be in this field. And so when I talk to people over the phone, I hope people are recording and will listen to psychologists of what these individuals are saying. It's so perpetrating. It's like, you don't understand the horrible things that have happened in my life, and I'm hearing the words that come off some of these individuals. And some of it I don't want to put on camera because I get persecuted for it. But it doesn't change. It doesn't change about what they're doing. Unfortunately, I come from a very poorly intelligent family. My mother's very uneducated, and it's just a game of survival. And we have Michael Jackson on the table, and World War II. Fucking my dad's, whatever bullshit. Navy service, and talking to the president before the World Trade Center collapses and shit. It's very hard, because you just have to just like focus on God, because the selfishness is what's so hard about it, and how they just strip. And you always gotta have somebody that's gonna listen, and nobody gives a fuck in my world. And there are just too many problems everywhere. There's too many problems all over the place. And I can only maintain through God and the belief of faith. I have to keep faith because I believe I'm going to get this. I believe I'm going to get that. But faith is to me is always, it's more important because you never ask for something from God. You're not like, okay, I did this, you deserve to give me this. You know, it's faith, never asking for something because you move forward and then never asking for a gift or reward. I'm not great with words, but you sort of carry that natural understanding of this, hoping that it is in the best to whatever that is. You know, our Lord teaches us to be humans and better. There's so many bad things in this world, and everyone wants to show how macho they are, how much they sacrificed more, or how much they made more of life than the next person. And they will strip that off your table like they did mine. They doesn't give a shit. When it's hard when you come across that type of stuff because you like, then you got to be like looking. You know, you come across these videos and you like see like a person with like 80% burnt body. You know, doesn't have had a face transplant. You know, has like 3 legs they were born with. You know, like awful things. And you're like, oh, life isn't that bad. You just let this one get away with it again. You know, but you know, it's I have to just keep faith, and I hope to pray to God that I'm allowed to get into this, you know, into this medical field and deep into it. Like, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. Like, when I say hard, like, it's not that the desire of saying that I'm forcing myself to wanting to do it. No, I want to. When I say it's going to be a very long journey. You know, it's easy, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and, you know, it's 2 years from now by the time I earn this, something like that. You know, but little by little, I need to put my focus and do whatever it is I can. Just keep trying. And, you know, but right now, when I go to Cedar Valley College, it is going to be very difficult because I'm running low on money. They have a Subway there, and I was hoping to get my nutrition, you know, my vegetables. I usually don't ever buy meat, but I have been just because I'm, you know, traveling or, you know, getting on the bus and it's hot and all kinds of shit, and I'm getting a little bit older, so I need a little bit more protein. So I was thinking of, I'm eating a lot of boiled eggs now, so but to get my Subway sandwiches, you know, to get my body the vegetables, I always put all the vegetables, everything I can on there to get whatever vitamin I can that my body needs to have a good balance and go throughout my day. Because you can go without food for a long time, but you need your vegetables. And let me put this in the fridge. It's getting warm on me. It's hot outside. Hot in here too. And you know, it's so I got to get that, and it's like I got to figure out my money, because by the time I get done with this class, it's going to be, I think, November, June, July, August, September, October, November. So it's going to be like the week before Thanksgiving. So that's going to be a really blessing if I'm able to pass it. If I'm able to take this test, this is a pretty big deal. If, you know, passing this CNA is a baby stone for me to be able to think that I can do something for my life. You know, because I don't ever know what's going to happen. You know, taking a 3-month course, that's a college course. That's a real college course. Like 3 months, at 12 weeks, that's 3 months. And it'll put me on a really good platform to work in hospitals and understand a good grip of this. So that's what I plan to do, and that's what the circumstance is. So I'm going to be taking this 12-week. You know, I got to be very careful with my money. I'm going to be eating a lot of boiled eggs. Good, thank God the boiled eggs are only like $1.99 for a dozen, because it's the cheapest food that I can get with the highest quality of protein and stuff my brain needs. Something to repair my heart as well, because I'm always thinking, I've had so much damage probably happen to my body because of the plastic anemia and deterioration of the human flesh, that I need the protein to sort of rebuild the muscle of the heart. And there's a lot of good minerals on there for the brain to help you, helps feed the brain function very well. Has really good minerals, helps with osteoporosis, which is perfect for me. And it's very light in the stomach, and it's very cheap. I used to hate boiled eggs. I naturally wouldn't have eaten them, all the time, but it's healthy and it's good for me. It allows me to kind of enjoy other stuff as well. When I say that, I mean like eat that, and then I can kind of, save some money and, dabble in on maybe like fajitas or something like that on one day, or I don't know, maybe a soup or something. But anyway, that's the biggest deal with this is getting to school, food, because like transportation for that time, what is it? It's like $40 a week. Say 7 times 5, it's like $35. $35, 5 days a week. So it's like it's $35 a week for 12 weeks. It's like 3, 6, 9, 12. It's 150, 180. 210, 230, 260, 290. I count that right? And also you also have the 5s, right? So you have 300, 310, 320, 330, 340. So it's just about 300 to 350 bucks. And then in just getting there. That's getting me a trip, $350 on a paratransit to get me to school and back on one trip. But I still have to pay for the bus when I need to take the bus to get to school for another whatever paperwork, whatever the next thing is going to be. So I got to figure that out. I got to leave a little bit of money for there, and then I got to always think of food. So a lot of the things is I try to accommodate what money I have to have a little bit of pleasure or some contentment, because I'm focusing so much on school, and so because that's what I'm going to be doing at the patient care. Obviously, if I thought the CNA was difficult, this is going to be like twice as difficult. So I need to be able to enjoy a good vegetable basket at least once a week or something like that. And that's always like $10 extra, right? So I'm going to be doing that, and that's what's going on. But there's a few other things. But before I get into anything, I was getting on my YouTube, and I miss working on my ships. I really want to build several of them, because I have some more stories to say, and some very deep meanings. And all the ships that I have are going to be all religion, all very specifically Christianity based. All of it is. All of it. And and they're going to be custom made, and I really, really miss that right now. I've had for a long time, but I got to focus on my school, and I'm going to hopefully maybe after I buy at least one, I'm going to go for it and make a graduation boat, But another thing that I wanted to talk about is stress. Okay, so there's all these electronic devices that are so intense, and it's hard for me to understand why, if anybody ever in my life, and I mean any of my friends ever came over to me, that I grew up, that I can't even describe the shit that I went through with these friends. Like, we're fucking smoking weed, we're fucking doing drugs when we're fucking 15 years old, I'm seeing my friend get hit with the belt, like shameful shit. I'm seeing hearing my friend, sleeping with this girl, like all kinds of shit. And if you ever told me that they ever told me somebody was beating them with an invisible fucking mechanism, I would be, all fours, like a dog figuring out who's doing this to this for controlling you. Who would want? I mean, this is like some sci-fi shit, or this is like some like X-Files conspiracy shit. And I would not run like what they did to me. And it's very, very hard because there's all these thoughts, and these thoughts are very clear to me on how I understand and what they're doing, like the bad shit. Like, okay, so they're getting my mother to fucking throw fucking garbage shit on the fucking table and then feed it to me to degrade me. They tell her to give me a pizza while we're in the car and just shove it in my mouth. There's all these psychological things cleaning up, and there's all these stories, but you don't understand. My mother's intelligence, she doesn't understand. It's not my mother, it's her sisters. Whatever the fuck money came in and all this, there's always going to be an excuse. It's going to be this excuse, it's going to be that excuse, but it never changed that my existence of life was like that. In every door that I went in, it doesn't say, every time I saw a celebrity cheering for Kenneth Cooper and the transgender movement, my dead sister being dragged around, I have a friend of mine that was taunting me, Lindsay that was calling me at 5 o'clock in the morning to make a replacement of my dead sister by telling me that she was giving me a message from the afterlife. And they're doing this to sort of entwine this, because once she puts me into a DJ career, then you can replace it with the murder attempt that was placed on me, and then have Michael Jackson clean it up, and then it's just Marines for Barack Obama died out there in Iraq, and it layers itself, and it's so ruthless that I would never like start taunting somebody about this, specifically if I knew what the fuck was going on. And it doesn't take that much, and it's like I can't even explain the magnitude of like I think of how poor and sad this little girl is, and my sister, that I didn't even have a photo on her house, and how awful she was scummed to death. Like, this little girl was blind. I don't even know her name. There was no proper burial. I mean, this girl went into the fucking trash can like dog shit for Barack Obama. I'm telling you, this was for the black movement, for the credibility of the whites, where we're just Mexican trash shit, and we needed somebody else to clean up. In some cases, that was kind of the truth. I come from a broken family, but it's sad. Like, it's traumatizing. Like, I have to think of Jesus and God. Like, Jesus, help me. Like, I believe that you're taking care of, she's with you, and that will protect me, knowing that. But you don't understand, because you get it. I can break this down into such a like mathematical equation and artistic painting canvas on the selfishness of what people did and why they did what they did with that little girl, and why they did it to me. Because it's like, the mediumship in the world, where they have, mediumships where whatever they call them, where they talk to the afterlife bullshit. I don't believe in that. But we don't know, we're all going to die, so they just take the gamble right there. What better yet this little girl's blind, this little girl's like really severely retarded, what does God think of all the intelligence in the world and all kind of middle class? But it has an attachment to God in itself that seems to be very profound and deeply, that people can be manipulated, and it's exactly what happened. That was for Barack Obama. That was for his team. That was for, it never changes, like, the people that had done what they did and how mutilating is. And so, I go through this in my mind, and I am it doesn't matter how much I accepted it. It's more, it is 100% taunting me. It's 100% to mutilate the situation. It's 100% because my mom is as smart as just a bag of shit, and I'm just going to take advantage of it. This is going to be my intelligence, and then I'll play the highest level of sacrifice, or I'm going to play the highest level of patriotic, or I'm going to play the highest level of, oh, it's not about racism. Oh, then I'm just going to use Michael Jackson. Like, there's no way out. Like, it's just you suffer. Like, I get the visions of my mother being raped, walking from the side of the house. I walk, she's crying. I'm like chasing this guy, like around the fucking house, and nobody wants to. I see this lady holding, and so all these things, nobody gives a shit. Like, what mother could watch her child get hit like that, and you get an ass rape, and we're going to talk about Keynote 97 on the beat for what it is, because we kick down with our black niggas, and it's just like they think it's a musical. So I'm not trying to be racist, okay? I know, that sort of hood talk, but any music and all that other stuff, as well as far as entertainment, basically all music, that's all theirs. When you look at the history of the United States, right? You have slavery. They built America. Horrific things. They were willing to do it to build that, and God knows, everybody knows, the slave movies out there. 12 Slaves, all kinds of movies out there. But you have those people that are willing to do it, that ultimately save the world, in so many different ways, because they had the brains and they were willing to do it and be ruthless as they were. And so you kind of owe them up to that. And you have music, which is a very, very powerful spiritual, it's a very emotional, it's a very moving, it's a very, very moving mechanism. And you walk in the malls, who creates all the best music? Michael Jackson. That's all black. Mexicans do not have a place there, and we never did. We tend to maybe scavenge or copy. But there's, so to have something like that, and my mother not really understand the magnitude, and especially to be in a position that I'm in, and President Barack Obama and all this, and then, oh, guess who died in Iraq again, got burned alive, oh, but you can't use that again, oh, but, they thought I knew about my dead sister. Like, it's such a vicious cycle, because the anger is always going to be focused on something. And if it's not something, it's going to be something else. If it's not something, it's going to be something else. If it's not something, it's going to be... And so, I'm mortal too. But when you have all this that's coming at you, it's hard to describe, because nobody listened. And parts of me wanted to go cartel. I wanted to be a fucking cartel member and fucking machete people. I was just fucking so enraged. But you gotta understand, all that psychology, you're maybe in a safe place to do it, but I will never be in my life. And any anger that ever shows up will be psychology fixed to then directed towards something else. You don't understand that whatever it is they shoot me with, whatever shitting every morning when they tell me to, all those details, it happens to me every day, and I have no existence of what a normal life ever was, without them. And I have to believe in God, because the world is such an awful place, and I watch some of these stories where, like, a guy gets burned alive at 80%. A child experiences eating feces with, like, 7 grown men raping the shit out of this little girl, like, at 7 years old. Like, I mean, and there's nothing that ever gets done. And a majority is happening in the United States, like the people that have the money to do it, who are doing that type of shit. And it makes you kind of think grateful. I'm like, you look at porn stars. I was looking at some porn stars that I would follow. You had, uh, you know, Coco Lovelock, or you have Maddie, you know, uh, or you have Haley, who went to good elementary with me, and I remember seeing her many, many years ago, and I remember just like spotting her. I remember her smile, and I remember just thinking, this girl's so beautiful. I remember just, she was really too young for me, and I remember thinking of that. But I said, wow, this girl is so pretty. Oh, God, when I saw her as a little kid, like when I saw her, she was like in first grade or second grade. And I just remember thinking, I was like, wow, that girl's pretty. Wow, she's really, really pretty. Um, I could tell by looking at the teachers how they were walking and how they sort of carried her like a throne or trophy. Anyway, so, you see what people have to go through to make a living, what people had to deal with, and what sacrifices you're willing to make that someone else isn't. And it becomes very difficult. The only way is, to deal best of it with believing in, Jesus and God, because it takes too long for me to. I know I'm like fumbling across my words of how vicious and nasty the world I've had to deal with, and how disposing of my life it really was to these people. Like I just felt a zap on my temple, and how they're going to create, if anything ever happens, how they're going to create a manifestation of total genius to then, that's just the way life went. And they will get it. They will. Like, these are masterminds of everything in life. They sit behind these computers, this desk, in their whatever, and it was so many of them. And there's just no way you were going to survive. Look what, it's hard to describe because nobody believed how they were following us. When we went ice skating, and I was like 9 years old, and I was 10 years old. Literally following us, and they were threatening me, and like I was fucking 10 years old going ice skating in a fucking rink. Nobody wants to believe that shit. And how crazy it is. That was before cell phones, and they were fucking doing this shit. I mean, it was insane. I'm looking behind my back, and I'm watching how Frankie's being manipulated and targeted. And I like tell Frankie, hey, you know that guy? And I tell my brother Frankie may be able to remember this. I remember telling him when we got up, because I was looking, looking behind him, and I noticed somebody was signaling to. These are grown men. These are like 35-year-old heavy-set men, and like with the transgender and shit. And they were like, and when we got up, I waited until they couldn't see anymore. I said, hey, Frankie, you see that guy? This guy was signaling to you, like they're going to do something, or they know who you are, or something. And I would say shit like that. And so anyway, there's all this history of events, and it's very sad to have never been able to say even just a fraction of it in the most truthful way as it possibly, because it got rewired. Total dog shit. There's people that get to live their lives without having to go through somebody to rewind their life fucking story to shit. To total dog shit. And just make it like a toy game, like there's no sacredcy to it. And it's like through the roof, too overwhelming. I can't, like it like when I say build up a stroke, like you build up a stroke because how unfair and how selfish it was, and how they just treasured, like the murderers, the fucking rapists, and they just treasured them. They just fucking, like, you go back to a normal life, you don't get to talk about anything. Like, I'm forced to fucking, like, I look on here and I see Shaquille O'Neal with fucking like tears under his eyes and shit, like conditioning me ready to go to a DJ fucking goddamn career. Like shit like that. Like, oh, but somebody else is suffering. This is DJ Keynote 97. Let me tell you how this is gonna, like, nobody cares. Nobody does. This is about what they can steal and take at the highest values of what's so sentimental. And you can't dismantle that. You know, you can't get a flower and fucking crush it to the fucking death, you know, and poison it and then give it to somebody, or you just can't do that shit and then put it in a fucking laboratory thinking that you're just going to reinvent it to come back to the same way, precious way that it ever was. No, that's exactly what you did with your words and with your actions. Now you just want to go ahead and here it looks stupid. And it's tough, you know, because there's all this stuff and, you know, these sensors they have and you know, I always feel better when I gravitate to the belief of the church, the belief of Jesus and God. And some people can go without it. Some people can. I don't recommend it. I think they should go to Christ as well. And, you know, but they make their own choices. And we're going to suffer the same fate. Here I am, everything, and oh, HIV positive. You went through a plastic anemia. I'm fucking going 42 years old. I was never allowed to do this. I wasn't ever allowed to do that. And what they did to me was nothing but a joke. For the, you know, your youth is so precious and so valuable that people are not concerned with the value of it. They consider the time valuable. You know, someone who cries at 70 years old is not the same as someone crying when they're 21. Like, you see a guy crying and he found out the girl that he wanted was just being raped in by some guy he hated, and she was just so precious, and he's just like this, you know, he's fucking depressed. He thinks his life is over. He wants to end his life and shit. He's crying. It's the same as someone 65 years old crying over the same shit. The magnitude of your physical body experience of this is so valuable. You have to, you know, but they have a different output of the value of what human life experience is. And somewhat it should be, understanding that you sort of, everyone gets a shot. But it doesn't say that you want to still understand the value of it. The magnitude, you break things down versus what's really being taken away from you. And there's so many people out there that had all this money and shit, all these things, and they always come up with these genius excuses, and they plotted it out from the very beginning. And when you no longer can talk about it, when you no longer can explain, you have nobody smart enough or intelligent, that is why they did that. And there's no one that you can go to. And they know that they did that. And they're going to lie and tell you that it was just no this, it was just no that, it was just... The president is right over there if you want to go talk to him. Him and his people. And it's not going to work. Like, any argument I have, and I recommend this to anybody as well, you know, it's just not going to work. It's not. And you have to find gravitational pull to the church and Jesus, you know. Everyone has their own sort of personal beliefs. Nobody's perfect. You know, here I made this video cursing a couple of times, you know, but it's very, it's tough, you know. But I hope that I'm allowed to continue this world of medical stuff, and you know, I feel in a very deep part of way that there's not going to be any hope because of the conditioning and because of just the sheer abuse, and because they already know the different chambers, because everyone is going to go through the same similar two chambers. You're going to get angry, you're going to experience jealousy, you're going to experience frustration, you're going to experience hesitation, you're going to experience making very poor choices that you would have, that are not going to be very benefiting to your life, that are going to really set you back, and then you're going to have to look at it in a different way, even though you lost that time. And some are more ruthless than others, and some are more sacrificing, because everyone you come in contact with, they want to go down the rat hole. They're jumping into that casket. They are diving into that casket. They are just like, I don't care, and that is not a good thing. Okay, and at least I don't believe that it is, because it's about Michael Jackson. I'm going to pay for more over here because I can sacrifice this little girl's energy and soul, gravitate it to Alison Dubois. We can execute it on this white skin because that's more related over there, but black is related to the dark side. You don't have to explain to understand something, and then you get President Barack Obama again because he's the first black. Remember Marines that died and got burned, and what they have to deal with? They give you the option to make even option a possibility, because they're just coming to take your shit. So. But it's I wasn't getting so overwhelmed like I have on some other days, but it was very frustrating, just kind of thinking, I could be doing something else, enjoying myself, but I'm broke again. It's like I build model ships, but I'm glad I'm finishing up this class, and I hope I can squeeze this in, because I have a very desire to build these model ships. I really do. I don't want my health to get worse. I'm sort of getting nearsighted. I still have to make that appointment with the doctor, eye vision doctor. So but it's wild. I really don't get glued to so much of the celebrity stuff. It's great to watch. It really is. It's great to watch every once in a while and see, they're having a great time, and life is going the direction that it's going. But there's no judging. There's no because I come from such a broken family that you don't have anybody representing it. And they're breaking all the walls to whatever they want. Like they don't consider this, or you're just picking at that. Just go back to your $250,000 fucking house and complain about your bullshit little fucking crumbs on the ground. But it's tough. So anyway, I'm hoping to build these model ships. Pretty tired today. It is hot, and got my swimming shorts. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully it's not see-through. I think it is. Probably when they get wet, they're probably gonna see my wiener. Anyway, I got these. These are cool. These are kind of like the kind of skipper. I got these because they're red, white, and blue, right? But like American flag, but it's not red. They're orange. On the picture on Amazon, it looks like it's red, but they kind of look reddish, but pretty close. But one of the reasons I also get this is also because I'm always trying to think of. Sometimes I place myself in environments when I try to think to myself, what's a creative idea to do on my next model ship? Like, what am I going to do next? Like, and I got some brilliant ideas, just like ingenious. Like, I watched this guy from France. I think, was it France or Sweden? I can't remember. I think it was from France. And it was by a famous French artist. Anyway, this guy, made, and it was just unbelievable. It was like he had a swan that was made out of gold, and it generated energy by water, and the mechanics and the physics that they used, I don't even understand the word exactly what physics, but it was like the mechanics of how they use it. It like has running water to generate its movement, and it like moves and like picks fish, and it's just very beautiful. I mean, unbelievable beautiful of instrument that someone who made something like that. So I have all these great ideas, and I'm sometimes, so when I go swimming, I try to think of some ideas, or I'll be, under the water, I try to think what's a really great, beautiful idea, and I got some, I'm hoping to be able to work on that stuff, and so hopefully, I don't think I'm going to build any ships here. I might. I don't think I'll build one because I really want to get a desk, and I don't have the money for it, so I may have to then get a desk. That may be another option, or or I could get possibly a desk, but it's getting really hot. It is very frustrating to kind of build that in the kind of temperature I'm working at. But I have the desire because my mother's twin doesn't want using that apartment anymore to store stuff. So when I build something, I could go and just drop it off at the church. Is what I'm probably going to do, and it's probably going to go to a church and drop it off. And then what I'm going to do is, if I do, I still have yet to build my brothers, the model ship, Julian and Frankie. I already built Marco one, Bethel one, but they take a very long time to build. Anyway, I wanted to talk about also a few other things that were on my mind. And when I was at this nursing home, I think some of the guys, one of the older couple of the patients there were from the White House. I really didn't think of it. I try not to think of it that way. I try to think of just people there. Got to do my job. That's it. I try not in any way. And I came across someone that I believe had a sex change and something went wrong. And it's very sad. It's very heartbreaking to know that this individual felt like they had to, they went wherever they went, and at the moment that they decided to go through with that, catastrophically change that individual's life, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they're kind of sort of lost in their own world, and you kind of get that sense of what happened with Patricia Cadena, and the whole infection shit, and it's just part of life. I don't get depressed about it, but my job is to do the job and do it with correct, and learn as I go, enjoy as I go, and there's all this other stuff. I think some of the kids there, I could go into very deep detail about what their personalities were like, but some of the kids there, I think, were from the White House as well. At least one of them were. Two of them, I think, were. And they were very young. They're all very smart. Had bright futures ahead of them. But you always have to be careful. My father used to always tell me about these types of people. You come across. People that are much older are so much wiser to poison your head. The the venom becomes very, very lethal. You know, it's wild because, in my opinion, I don't believe a lot of people believe in God, and you have no idea how good you have it. You know, being able to go to church, have your your own family, and just focus on God, and really enjoy the practice of and living with the Bible and what it tells us to do, and learning from that, and enjoying a lot of the small things in life. That you have the freedom of that religion, because a lot of places you won't, and you won't be welcome to, and just for your own being as a human being, that because we all pass through this life very, very fast, very, very fast. It all passes by very fast. We don't know what's going to happen. I believe in Jesus. I believe in heaven. I believe in hell. I believe in God, and I believe that there is, but I don't know what that consists of. That's not for me to just sort of make an imaginary place of it. It's more of having faith of what the superior God, because this world is so monstrous. People run through their lives beyond anything you can imagine. And you're going day by day, just forgetting about, like, well, I'll forget about this video in a week from now. And, there's just beyond anything you can imagine. And to get away with anything they want, and they will. They will absolutely, suicide themselves down the rat hole and take you down with them. Give it to their kids. They don't care. Let it be your life. I don't care. And unfortunately, I'm in that circumstance with them. But it's better to be content in your life as you live through it. To be content, because a lot of details out there, right? And but my hair's falling out. I don't want to say just falling out, but it just seems to be sort of here at the front. And it's, why? It's because when I was a kid, I used to have my hair split. I used to pluck primarily here and all the way down the center of my head. I used to have it split, and when it wasn't perfect, when one hair would be out of place, I would pluck it out. And I did that a number of times, and I remember thinking, I was like, oh shit, I better stop plucking my hair. I'm going to burn out the hair follicle. And that's why. So it kind of cut up to me. It's not really so noticeable, but it's pretty bad, But, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on. I've been thinking, okay, well, where am I going to go if I finish this patient care technician class? I was thinking maybe I can go to Orlando, Disney World, work over there, because my sister, kind of do a little tribute there. Again, but in the medical field, do some kindness, for myself as well. Or I could go to New York, try to see if I can find my brother's wedding business, and then, I have a relative, Bart in Palomo, or, I'm gonna cause stir up shit there with the World Trade Center, or most important is that, who knows, maybe I can go to Connecticut and go see Stabanka, work in the same city and hospital, work in the same hospital she was being treated. Add some blessings before I leave. Add some blessings, be there for a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months, and then head out. And, add some blessings, some kindness, and, plastic anemia vibes, whatever that is, and off I go. Maybe I'll have a cup of tea with her, or some Starbucks coffee, or something to drink at Starbucks. And or maybe I can go to LA, Los Angeles, Hollywood, go to their nursing homes, their hospitals, do an assignment out there. Don't know yet. Maybe go to Hawaii, maybe again, who knows, maybe Alaska. Maybe go to a totally different state I've never been to, maybe Mississippi, or not Mississippi, maybe what is it? New Orleans, where they had Katrina. There's a lot of tragedy in that environment, a real bad, specifically, I'm going to say with nursing homes and hospitals, but one of the most vulnerable circumstances that happened in New Orleans with the Katrina hurricane. Now, I remember seeing documentaries and all kinds of stuff, is that the people in the nursing homes and rehabilitation centers, like some of them, like they were in the ghettos and real poor, they absolutely could not do anything for them. So the nurses and all the people had to fend for themselves, and it was like every man for himself. And like there was people that drowned, that were just drowned. They died in their beds because the water came in and there was no ambulances or nothing. Like their bodies started decomposing. Crocodiles were like eating some of these people, and particularly the old folks. They were the most vulnerable situations because they couldn't even have a chance to try to defend themselves. And there was a lot of decomposition, and it was really bad. Maybe go out there and give some support. I know there was a big racial problem over there as well. A lot of black people, and maybe I go out there and give some support. So got to go where the suffering is, right? But I have to at least, before I ever do anything with working at an AIDS unit, or go do a traveling trip with a church or some sort of organization that I'll have to put together after graduation of the PCT. I have to at least work at least 1 to 2 assignments in the United States, and before I ever do anything like that. Obviously, I'm going to work here in Dallas for a couple assignments. I'm going to do some PRN. I'm going to start applying to jobs probably all this week over the next 4 or 5 days. I'm going to go to a few nursing homes, or I'm going to apply online, call them at a few nursing homes. I got to fix up my resume and see what's going to go on with this, and call some rehabilitation centers and see how that goes. I know they got some pretty luxury ones, maybe the real fancy ones that I've seen online, which is kind of weird to me because I ain't never been even nicer to the one even nicer of the fancy, nicer than the dementia nursing home I was at doing clinicals. I saw ones like piano and sort of glittering chandeliers, and but anyway, yeah, get some experience there and see what's going on. But I'll keep it posted, update with the class, and once I get all that situated, like September 1st, I'm enrolled, I'm ready to go, everything's ready. I'll post a video and I'll let y'all know what's kind of going on. But I'm really looking forward toward this patient care technician class. I'm looking forward. I feel good about it. I feel like, I think it's going to be very challenging. I'm hoping it's always easy. When I say easy, that my brain gets efficient enough to be able to complete this very successfully. That's what, that's the way I try to look at it, when I say easy, that it's not just the desire, but my brain can process to be collective and understanding of the material I'll be learning to pass it successfully, because it is 12 weeks of school. To my understanding, it's 6 weeks, then I take another class, but I don't know if that second class is clinicals for 6 weeks, so I'll be in clinicals, which is, kind of a reliever in some case if it is, because if it is 6 weeks that I'm doing patient care technician, that means that that's all going to be book material and knowledge I have to learn. If it's 6 weeks clinical, that's just to be adapted in the work environment. That's a lot easier. That's a lot easier. So. That means I have to learn this portion to practice at that location and portion for that time. But yeah, so I'm flat broke, and it's going to be very, very hard. It's going to be hard. I have to find and I hope they pay me well, because I need Subway food so I can have my vegetables. You know, I can like have my Subway sandwiches, you know, for lunch before I get to the house, or after a class or something like that, because they got a Subway. I think I have maybe a couple of restaurants too, which I don't want to go to restaurants. I have to figure out the pantry and so on. I have to figure out all that stuff. So I'll make a video, keep y'all posted. I can't wait to finish these classes, be successful, and be even that much more better. And then I'm going to do, like, I really want to build a graduation, but I'm going to build a model ship. I want to build another model ship. So I'll keep y'all posted.